So, welcome you all to today's web workshop. So, let me share my screen. Yeah, so I hope my screen is visible. Right. So, welcome you all to today's today's design lecture. That is Designing with Impact, a masterclass on Revit's conceptual massing. Right. So, first of all, today's agenda. So, like first we'll discuss about our company, that is Arcans in Private Limited. And first of all, my name is Prakriti Goyal and I'm working in Capricorn as Senior BIM Specialist Architecture. So we will be carrying on for today's workshop, right? So now, first of all, let me introduce our company and then we'll move on with the design advance brief by our ethos group, Kanchan. And after that, we have an esteemed guest over here to show you guys, to show you everyone, why conceptual design is actually useful and how it is used for, how it is used in real context projects, right? So now let's start. So yeah, so Arcans Inc. is actually like a leading company, leading design and construction technology solution providers for architectural, engineering, construction, and manufacturing industries. Our main motto is we deploy data-driven solutions across the construction and manufacturing sectors worldwide to improve sustainable project designs, and we help our clients to unleash the better ideas for future, right? So we are since 1987 to 20,000 plus Indian customers and 40 plus BIMS experts. Now, as in to advance the way we work through our partners who build smart and strategies, we are delivering a portfolio of solutions to help customers design, build, and solve for tomorrow's challenge. So we are divided into three parts, like all over the world. So we have Americas, EMEA, and APAC. Now, as an unmatched global service platform, so we have 50 plus offices around the world, located in 18 plus countries, and we have 1,300 plus solution professionals, right? So this is the whole introduction for the our company, Arcans Private Limited. Now, I would call upon Kanchan from Ethos Group to give us the brief about Design Advance 2024. Kanchan,
Hello
over to you.
everyone. Yeah, I'll be just sharing my screen. Hi everyone. I am Kanchan from Ethos Empowers and I will be taking you through the brief of Design Advance 2024 with the theme title Architecture of Assembly, Industrialized Construction for High-Rise Buildings. We'll discuss the theme, what is your design task, the guidelines for participation, and some frequently asked questions. So the theme, as some of you may know, and the theme for this year is Architecture of Assembly, Industrialized Construction for High-Rise Buildings. So there are three things that you can take away from the theme title itself, that you will be assembling something, you'll be using industrialized construction, and that you'll be creating a high-rise building. So this year's theme is focusing on revolutionizing the construction process itself through industrialized construction. And particularly in multi-storied buildings, using industrialized components, the prefabricated components can speed up the process, can prevent wastage, can also prove to be very efficient and sometimes cost effective. So to tackle the challenges like unorganized labor, workmanship issues, site management, and pollution caused by the construction activities, like the materials that get spilled and the air pollution that happens, it can be a very useful tool. So you'll have the task to design a high-rise residential building or complex that provides safe and comfortable living spaces. Diving deeper into the theme, you may have noticed that high-rise residential buildings have several repeating elements and identical layout of units as they are stacked on top of each other. So the staircases, railings, facade, balconies, toilets, these are often designed as repeating elements in such high-rise buildings. But due to the scale of these buildings and projects and the limitations of conventional construction process, these projects will take up a long time to be completed and occupied. So not only the house owners are waiting for their house to be completed soon, also the builder is waiting that their project is taking a long time to be constructed and occupants are not able to move in. So, to speed up this process, how can we save time, effort, expenses, and resources while designing these buildings? If we just use the identical or the repeating elements, we somehow standardize them and then use those pieces or like blocks to assemble a building. Would that help us? So, industrialized construction with prefabricated components does just that. And in prefabricated construction, only the foundation will be laid using conventional methods of construction. The superstructure, like walls, floors, doors, windows, railings, facade, etc., these can be produced in a factory and then later assembled on site. So the process goes like this: the standardized elements will be designed according to the requirements on BIM softwares. Then the elements are produced in a factory in required numbers, however many you will need. So you just produce that many elements. Then the prefabricated elements will be transported to the site, and at the site they will be assembled and stuck together as per the design. What all can you prefabricate? Like, what are the parts of a building that can be prefabricated? You can even prefabricate building systems like the fire staircases, because they are just repeating elements, right? Each of the flight of stairs are like identical, going one above the other. So that can be prefabricated. Elevators, plumbing, cooling, ventilation, these systems can also be prefabricated. Complex systems like a facade system or balcony railings, etc., they can be prefabricated for accuracy. Then components like walls, floor panels, doors and windows, entire toilet unit can be prefabricated for identical finish across all the units. And then kitchenettes can also be prefabricated. Moving on, here are some case studies. First one is called 10 Degrees, located in London, UK, designed by HDA Design. And you may notice that at a glance, it just looks like any other building. So there is no distinction that tells you that, oh, this building is prefabricated. Oh, this building was made using conventional construction. There's no distinction like that. It will obviously look like a usual building. And you can also notice how these balconies, like small Juliet balconies, these are called, and they have been designed as repeating elements, and how that creates such an interesting texture on the facade of the building. Another case study that you could look up is the De Quakeridge apartments in Utrecht, the Netherlands. So, in this apartments complex, you can see like there's also an experimentation with the shapes and the colors of the facade elements, and how that has been used to make this building even more interesting. And in this project, the kitchens, bathrooms, stairs, and facade were prefabricated and placed on the site. It is highly standardized and rationalized. There are only two types of units. Coming to the task, you design a high-rise residential building or building complex using industrialized construction with prefabricated building components. You understand IC and prefabrication of building components to create sustainable, inclusive, and accessible spaces. So you have the opportunity to not only learn about what IC is and what the prefabrication of components is, you also get to explore suitable construction materials. because many construction materials that are used for conventional construction will not work here. Like bricks won't work here. Okay, so you also have the opportunity to learn something new here. You demonstrate how a transition from unorganized to organized construction practices will address the issues of quality and construction workers' protection and sustainability in design. And what we're expecting out of you is you maximize the use of industrialized elements in the design, and you standardized all the repeating elements like the staircases, washrooms, balconies, facades, walls, etc. And you draw inspiration from the uniqueness of the site. Of course, like even though you will be using prefabricated systems, doesn't mean your buildings will just be a box or a cuboid. You can experiment, and you can, of course, take influences from the site, the context, the history, the local heritage, arts, and crafts. You're free to do that. Now, the guidelines for participation, you have to choose an urban site, preferably in a tier 1 or tier 2 city with the following guidelines: that the site area is 5 to 12 acres, and the minimum FAR that you are achieving is 3. So green cover should be at least 15% of the total site area, and you follow the local bylaws or the national building code in absence of local bylaws. At least 50% of your design should be constructed using IC, prefabricated building components, partially or entirely. And within your submission sheets, on 1 to 2 sheets, you'll show prefabricated components that you've chosen and what is your reason for choosing them. So the impact of choosing IC should also make clear that how much cost you've saved, or the how much timeline you've reduced, etc. Here are your design considerations: how well you've integrated IC, how in-depth your research into IC is, and how sustainable your design is, how you're promoting well-being in your design, and how creative you have been with this method. So even though you are using the prefabricated components and factory produced elements basically, but how creatively you can assemble them to create your and create a building and put your own spin on the project. Here are the important dates. Registrations will close on October 7th. Submissions will close on October 17th. Undergraduate and postgraduate students of architecture, planning, civil engineering, and design globally can participate in this competition. And those graduating in 2024, they are also welcome to participate. Maximum of 3 members per team, and participants are allowed to make teams with students from different academic years, courses, or colleges even. Now, for some frequently asked questions that we get, so is there any registration fee or the competition and workshops? There is absolutely no fee for the competition or the workshops. They are both free for the participants. Uh, Postgraduate students, can they take part in the competition? Yes, UG and PG students of architecture, design, civil engineering, and related fields, they can all take part. Can the team members be from different colleges? So if you want to make a team with your friend who maybe studies in a different college or a different batch, that is also allowed. In absence of local bylaws, which standards should be used? So NBC is to be followed in absence of locally applicable bylaws and site regulations. Can we choose a site on your own? Of course, just that your site should be an urban site and in a tier 1 or tier 2 city of area between 5 to 12 acres. Can we define our area programs? Yes. We would encourage defining your area program yourself, and depending on the site requirements, and you can allot or spaces to them, whatever your site dictates. Here it is. So if you haven't registered already for the competition, you may register by visiting www.designadvance.in or simply scanning this QR code. And hope to see your work soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Kanchan, for the Design Advance brief. And let's move on with the next part. So yes, Now I would call our esteemed guest, architect Ramneet Kaur. She is the position, like she holds the position of the associates partner at ASP Associates and co-currently serves as a BIM manager consultant for Studio Symbiosis. Her prior engagements include consulting for the ministers of public work department and advising the School of Planning and Architecture on diverse architecture projects. Additionally, she has collaborated with multiple architects as BIM specialist architecture, as BIM specialist. Previously, she contributed as an assistant professor at the School of Planning and Architecture, and her research work has been featured in numerous international and national conferences as well. So, yes, Ramneet ma'am, kindly shower your knowledge upon us. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Prakriti. Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, so today, I am assuming that since all of us are here, we are all somewhere or the other related to construction industry. So this is the reason why I would not really want to stick only to Revit's conceptual massing, but talk about various other features as well. But let's initially start with the ideation of what actually conceptual massing is all about. So it is basically a tool set which is designed to help architects and designers quickly create and manipulate basic geometric forms and to represent the overall shape and volume of a building or structure in the early stages of design. So it's not just related to architecture that we usually assume. So I would want to today cover up three basic points. One is, of course, which I think most of us are here for, which will be architectural conceptual massing. We can also use it for interior conceptual designing. And then there are various other BIM tools which we will probably be talking about today, that can help us really, get our ideation going. So while we're talking about architectural conceptual design, the basic reason why people would be using conceptual massing is for understanding the spatial relationships. So, by using massing models, designers can very quickly study the spatial relationships between different parts of a building and its surrounding. This helps in understanding the flow and interaction of spaces. So, like here, the first slide that I'm showing is basically from a competition entry that we participated in at Senegal, South Africa. This is for a school. The basic issues that they had maintained or mentioned was that the site is very tight and we'll have to go for locally available materials, which were bamboo and jute. So while we started ideating, we wanted to explore the concept of how our masses or our volumes would be speaking. So the massing, with the help of conceptual masses, the massing can help in assessing the volume and scale of the project, and it also ensures how well it will be fitting into the context and the overall zoning, besides maintaining the constraints. So here is the final look, which, so this is entirely generated using conceptual massing. The 3D output is through Enscape. What we had actually ended up doing after the initial studies, which I have already shown here, is that we developed one simple adaptive family, and all the basic modules that we wanted to constrain. So, like, various diameter bamboos sticking one on top of each other with a jute fabricated sandwiched in between. This was the basic module that we finalized, and we wrapped it up all around the surface, and we were able to achieve the result that we were looking at. However, before we finalized this design, we also did a few more iterations. For example, I'm showing here, where we sort of tried how two bamboos, if stuck together and are sandwiched, how can they sort of help us in achieving the designs. So very nice parametric ideations can be done very quickly using conceptual massing. So this is another project that we are currently working on. that I really wanted to talk about, but since we have NDAs and we can't really show you actual images, but I wanted to sort of show how we are using conceptual massing. So here, how we were doing it was that we wanted to understand how Revit concepts can help us in understanding the volume and scales. So massing can help us in assessing the volumes. Here, for example, we were sure that we wanted to use DGUs or double glass units. However, we were not sure the size which we could fix in or the proportions that we could go in. So if I'll just show you, there was another iteration that we tried. So we were plugging and playing in with one simple module, trying to figure out how, if it is repeated all across the facade or the surface, how the result would be coming out. This entire ideation was actually achievable by using only one simple adaptive family that we created. We were not just creating everything in air. We had certain parameters we were keeping in mind. So, like, we were sure that how much would be the glass thickness, or how much would be the insulation gap that we would be needing between the DGUs, what would be the shape. These constraints were fixed, and then they were fed into the facade to understand how the result would be coming. uh, Moving on to interior concepts, a lot of times there is a misconception that Revit is a tool only used for architects, and basically once the designs are done and the construction is done, Revit is like, done away with. However, we sort of use it further ahead, and we like to use conceptual massing for interior design concepts as well. Conceptual massing in Revit provides designers with a powerful and flexible tool for developing, visualizing, and refining their concepts, leading to more thoughtful and cohesive environment. So here, for example, a very quick sketch we did for parametric wall paneling. If you can see how we were trying to create this, we were basically letting Revit do the entire designing, keeping our constraints in mind. So everything was automated, and the results were various permutation combinations were being generated by feeding values that we wanted to sort of provide. This is an image of one of the cafes which is almost about to finish, and we have actually used Revit and conceptual massing and the information that was fed into it to achieve the final results. And this was actually sent to CNC cutting, like the files were sent from Revit itself for CNC cutting, and the result is here in front of you, how we have been able to achieve. So mostly, like, people feel that, oh, Grasshopper and Rhino are the sort of softwares that we can probably use for parametric designs, but Revit in itself has a lot of plugins and layups where we can achieve the final results that we're looking at. uh, Another example here of how we have used Revit and conceptual massing is to show how the column cladding can be achieved, and the interesting designs can be achieved. Um, Revit's conceptual massing tools facilitate a smooth transition from broad design ideas to final detailing and coordination as well. So we can probably look at how those things can be achieved. uh, they are and If we start to integrate our initial concepts, and then take them up further, it provides a lot of flexibility, and there are many efficient ways in which we can end up developing and iterating the final result that we would be wanting to achieve. So the third part that I would want to touch upon, probably a few of you are already aware about, but it's not a very common tool I have noticed, like, people using, is Format. It's a very, very, very powerful tool if used intelligently, and it has a lot of benefits. And I don't think we should be covering concept designing or conceptual massing per se until unless we talk about this as well. So what basically Format is a base. It's a different software which has now, with new like Revit 2024 and all, also started to come up like a add-in or a plugin that you would like to call it. So here I am showing an example of one of the housing project for Shimla that we did on Revit. We wanted to just like, for the sake of this presentation today, I wanted to show you how we can use it. So let's assume that the roof structure here, I want to have a ideation about how different it would look if I do not provide sloping roofs here. But I would also not want to touch my actual model or spoil the ideation that I have already done. But I just really quickly want to understand all different options that I would probably be able to achieve through it. So I simply have to go and click on the 3D sketch button. Another software by the name of Format would open up for me, and there, just like we would be doing in a lot of other 3D softwares which most of these architecture students or even like interior design students now are well versed with, we will be able to quickly sketch up those sort of designs here, and the final results can be then, it's not just like you just work on format and leave it there for conceptual staging. We can export them back into Revit and then start to provide the various details. Like if supposing this gets finalized, this now becomes like a conceptual mass when we bring it back into our Revit environment, and then we can start providing walls and roofs and whatnot, all whatever we are able to achieve in Revit platform. We are very much able to manage it from here. Another very good advantage of using format is it's really quick, efficient, fast, and also supposing we have geolocations which are finalized and we are sure about the site, format has inbuilt information about those geolocations. Then you can select your site and design, keeping in mind your basic constraints and basic bylaws that you would probably be wanting to use. Last but not the least, I really wanted to touch upon this because I have come across a lot of people who have been facing issues that Revit library probably is something that people are always having questions about, like how do you achieve a better library or where all to go to. So, if you would just sort of start looking around and understanding how Autodesk environments are working, there are a lot of Autodesk 3D furnitures or fixtures already available for downloads. Then there are 3D Max libraries are like huge that we can use. So, how do we bring those back into our Revit environment? For that, again, Format is one of a very good tools that we could probably be looking at. And format so we can simply import the models that we already have, or maybe create new ones that we would want to. We can provide all these sort of materials and textures, and we can edit these models here itself in format environment as per our details, and you simply export them back into Revit, and your models will not lose their textures and will not lose their quality the way we would usually expect them to do if brought differently. So the massing tools, it allows for quick iterations and modifications, and designers can easily adjust their volumes and layouts to explore various different possibilities. I would like to end up by saying that Revit's conceptual massing tools are basically very integral to early design processes, but if also used judiciously, can take your model not just from early designing, but till your final detailed designing and a level as well as way ahead. I think that's all I would like to talk about today. Over to you, Prakriti.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us a wonderful knowledge about how to actually go for conceptual design when we are working with the BRIM process. So yes, conceptual design is actually very much important for the project's life cycle, because at that time the architects and the designers are actually thinking about what can be possibilities of how to make your project very attractive as well as sustainable, right? So yes, conceptual design is actually very much important important stage for the whole project life cycle. Now, if I talk about the BIM tools, so that has been discussed with Ramneet ma'am only. So like I'll give more about that BIM tool. So let me share my screen. So yes, like Ramneet ma'am told that we can actually go for different type of conceptual the conceptual BIM tool. So one is Format as well as one is Revit itself. So again, if you are developing with the project life cycle, if you're going for the any project like say high rise buildings for prefabricated buildings, so again like it depends upon you what tool you actually choose. So is it like your format, and if you're developing a format, so you have to install the format, or you can either go for the web version. But again, to implement the changes, to design this, like to develop this design, you have to install the format and then you can use it over here. Like let's say this is the format model, and if you want to develop that design, so you can easily go for the like massing insight. Like over here we have this massing insight over here, and over here you will have model by face, in which whatever concept you have provided, you just need to provide the building elements so that you can actually like generate the working drawings out of that. So you are developing that design using the conceptual model, using the conceptual design that you have developed in the format. And if I talk about the second model, like BIM tool, that is Revit itself. So if you are developing the conceptual model for prefabricated high-rising building, so for that, again, like parametric elements are necessary, right? So parametric elements are actually necessary. So what you can do, just like Ramneet ma'am said, you can actually create a parametric like families, like which are adaptive, right? Which are adaptive to the surroundings, let's say the facades, parametric facades. Or what you can do, you can create units. So if I talk about an example of a capsule like hotel, so like you can see, so this is actually a unit, that is actually module, right? So as a whole, you can develop a like conceptual design, like conceptual unit. You can create a parametric unit, and then you can actually change the sizes of them like as per your need. So like if I go to place mass, I'll just open that, I'll just load that unit that I've developed. So this is actually a conceptual mass. So conceptual parametric like model. So it is actually like how it is parametric because we can change the sizes as per their requirement. So if I go to like, yeah. So if I want to change it, let's say this is the core. So I can just go for duplicate core, where we have the full like the core, let's say 5 meter by 5 meter is the core size, right? So I can change the height, I can provide that. So 5 meter by 5 meter, and let's say 4 meter will be, right? So that is one core. Now I can use the same unit for developing like the like full modules, like full like if I talk about capsule hotel, so you can see like one full room, right? If I talk about maybe group housing, so like again, one full housing, like one full unit, you can actually develop it as a parametric, and which you can use on like again and again. Just you need to change the sizes, right? So let's say this will be your maybe so in this case, I'll take the same size. So 4 meter by like 2500. So I'll go for, yeah, 4 meter. Apply. And the size will be, let's say 4 meter, right? Or yeah, let's take 5 meter. Mm, yeah, and what we can say, yeah, yeah, and I'll just shift it, align it with this. I'll just mirror it. So why we are doing it again? Like because these models are same, so when you are changing anything, it will be reflect everywhere, right? And because these are your parametrics, so you can see what is happening over here. Once I'll create multiple levels. So let's create multiple levels up to maybe like 10 to 10 stories, right? So right now, what I'll do, I'll copy every element and paste it to different levels. And then in second floor, I'll just twist according to the like maybe a different, let's say a different angle, right? So let's say, mm, yeah, yeah. So when this is done, I'll just copy them multiple, right? So, right, in different levels. So it's like that. So if I show you in like shaded, you can see the final like the like you can see the twisted how twisted models are actually developed. Now again, it can be a variations. Like these are actually again like they are conceptual models. So after that, you will be using the model elements of the like just like walls, floors to develop this structure, and then you can like generate multiple of documentations, right? So this is actually like very useful like for developing the conceptual design stage. That is the first stage of your project's life cycle, right? So yeah, this is from my side. Anything you would like to add on, Ravneet ma'am? Yes. Okay, so yeah, now let's have a Q&A. So anybody, like anyone who has any questions regarding the today's webinar, so you can anytime like type it in Q&A chat box, and then we will be very like obliged to answer your questions. So yes, uh, guys, like any questions you have regarding the today's session, so you can actually uh, provide that in the Q&A chat box. So I think there's one question that like someone wants to know about more about the format. So again, like if I talk about format, so you can see over here, the format is actually one such tool like where you can actually develop different conceptual designs. And if you have the pro version, so you can actually provide the energy analysis like solar analysis for the conceptual stage also, right? And like just like Ramneet ma'am told you that you can actually develop every like complex geometries as well as like one thing is over here beneficial. So you will get 1:1 scale Bing maps where you can actually locate your site as well as you can measure your site design like site dimensions easily, and according to that you can develop your projects. You don't have to scale it, right? So again, like over here you have to first provide the location. So if you check over here, yeah, like if you see over here we have this location option. So in this you have to first set the location over here, and with this like it will give you a Bing map. So you can actually like import that satellite image and the terrain as well. So if like because Indian satellite is still developing, right? So like if you're going for the like international projects, so again with the with terrain, so each and every detail will come, right? So you can actually import that image file and then you can measure that the site dimensions, you can measure them, and according to that you can calculate the floor area ratio as well as the gross area. So this is actually like what is beneficial according to the like initial stages, right? That is like permissible gross area and floor area ratio. So for conceptual design this is actually more useful, right? And if I talk about in Revit, so again for conceptual mass in Revit, I think like if you can like go for the conceptual mass in Revit, that's well and good. So you can actually provide different parametrics. So again, you can develop your parametric facades, you can develop your like adaptive facades, which can be like those panels which will be adapting according to the solutions, like according to the circumstances. So same facade can be used in like circular like buildings or maybe like rectangular buildings. So again, it can be useful in every situations. So these parametric families you can easily develop in Revit, right? So if I talk about conceptual mass, so conceptual mass is actually we can call them as conceptual design environment where we have adaptive families plus your conceptual mass together, right? Right. So any like I hope, yeah. So any more questions if you have, you can provide that in the chat box. And like for training point of view, you can do one thing like you can go to connect@capricorn.com. So like we have the courses like BIM for Design course, which is actually for architects, freshers, and BIM enthusiasts, like civil engineers. So again, like for in that we actually help you in everything like from project delivery, conceptual designing. So in that course, we actually cover everything. So again, you can actually, if you have the query regarding that, so you can actually connect it, like just email it at connect@keeprecord.com. And if you have any queries, you can like you can just mention it down in the Q&A chat box. Okay, so I think that's it, right? So thank you everyone for joining the session, and thank you Ramneet ma'am for actually enlightening us with the knowledge like how we can use format and conceptual mass in the real context projects. So thank you for sharing your knowledge with us, right? And thank you guys for joining the session. Okay, so let's end the session here for today. Okay, so bye everyone. Thank you.